My daughter-in-law bought a new car with my savings and told me I can't even sit in it. Hi, my name is Audrey. I am 73 years old and I live in Queens, New York. And listen, I do not usually do things like this. I am not somebody who puts her business out there for everybody to see. I have always been a private person. Always kept my problems to myself, handled things quietly, moved on. That is just how I was raised, and that is how I raised my son. But what happened to me this week, what I found out, I could not keep it in. I had to talk to somebody. And right now, you're that somebody. So please just sit with me for a few minutes, because I really need to get this out. I worked in a factory for 38 years. 38 years. I got up every single morning before the sun came up, put on my work clothes, laced up my boots, and I went and I stood on that concrete floor, and I worked with my hands all day long. Lifting, sorting, packing, whatever they needed me to do. I did it. I never called in sick unless I was genuinely unable to stand up. I never complained. I just worked. Because I had a son to take care of and bills to pay, and that was just life. That was my life. And I am not saying that for anybody to feel sorry for me. I am just telling you who I am so you understand what I am about to tell you actually means. I retired 10 years ago. My knees finally gave out on me and my doctor said, "Audrey, you have done enough. Your body is telling you something. Please listen to it." So I retired. I moved back into my little apartment here in Queens, the same neighborhood I have lived in for most of my life, and I started figuring out what a quieter life looks like. It took some getting used to, honestly. After almost 4 decades of getting up with a purpose every morning, retirement feels strange at first. But I settled into it. I made my coffee in the mornings, I talked to my neighbors, I went to church on Sundays, and I watched my little programs in the evenings. Simple life. Good life. And I was grateful for it. Truly grateful. Every single day I woke up in that little apartment I said thank you, because I had made it this far. And my son Marcus, he is my whole heart. I raised that boy by myself from when he was 4 years old because his daddy decided he did not want to be bothered anymore and just left one day. Just left. But I am not going to spend time on that man because he does not deserve my time. What I will say is that everything I did after he left, every single thing, was for Marcus. Every extra shift I picked up, every birthday I made special on a tight budget, every school event I showed up to still in my work clothes because I came straight from the factory, all of it was for my son. And Marcus, he knew that. He appreciated it. He was a good boy. He really was. At least I thought he was. I thought I knew exactly who my son was. Turns out there were things about him I did not know at all. So when he brought Vanessa home about 6 years ago, I was happy for him. I really was. She was pretty and she seemed smart, and Marcus was smiling in a way I had not seen before, and that was enough for me. I welcomed that girl. I cooked for her. I made her feel like she was already family before they even got engaged. Because that is what I believe in. Family. Treating people right. Doing unto others. All of that. And when they got married 3 years ago, I gave $4,000 toward the wedding. I could not really afford it if I am being totally honest with you, but I did it anyway because it was my son's wedding and I wanted it to be beautiful for him. I wanted that day to be everything he deserved. Okay, so now let me get to what is actually happening, because this is the part that I am still trying to wrap my head around even as I am sitting here talking to you. About 2 years ago, I went to my doctor for a regular checkup, and he sat me down and had a conversation with me that honestly scared me. He said, "Audrey, I need you to start thinking seriously about your future. Your health is okay right now, but you are getting older and things can change, and you need to make sure you have something set aside in case you need extra care or extra support down the line." And I heard him. I really heard him. Because the last thing I ever want is to be a burden on anybody. That thought alone keeps me up at night sometimes. I never want someone to have to take care of me because I was not smart enough to plan ahead. So I got serious about saving. I already had a little money put away, maybe around $9,000 that I had been slowly putting aside over my retirement years. But I knew I needed more than that. So I cut back on everything. And I mean everything. I stopped going to the hair salon. I started doing my own hair at home. I stopped buying new clothes. I started cooking simpler meals, less meat, more beans and rice. things that stretch further. I turned my heat down in the winter and just put on extra sweaters and used more blankets. Every single month, I took whatever I could spare from my pension check, and I put it straight into my savings account. I did not touch it. I did not borrow from it. I just kept adding to it little by little, month after month after month. By this past January, I had $22,000 saved up. $22,000. And I know that might not sound like a lot to some people, but for a 73-year-old woman living on a factory pension in New York, that was everything. That was my security. That was me being able to sleep at night without that fear sitting on my chest. That account with my name on it and $22,000, and it was the thing standing between me and total uncertainty. I protected that money like it was my life. Because honestly, it was. Then 4 months ago, Marcus came to see me. He came alone, which I thought was a little unusual, because usually when he visits he brings Vanessa. But he came alone and he sat down right there at my kitchen table, the same table where I used to help him with his homework when he was little, and he looked at me with this expression on his face and he said, "Mom, I need to talk to you about something." He said he and Vanessa were going through a rough patch financially. He said their landlord had raised the rent significantly, and they had some other unexpected bills come up at the same time, and they were really struggling. He asked if he could borrow some money. He said $8,000. He said he would pay me back within 6 months, he promised, no question about it. And I looked at my son who I raised alone, my son who I sacrificed everything for. And I said yes. Of course I said yes. I went right then and there, and I got him a cashier's check for $8,000. More than a third of everything I had saved. And I handed it to him, and I said, "Marcus, you do not need to stress. Your mama is here." And he hugged me so tight. He said, "Thank you, Mom, I love you so much." And I felt good. I genuinely felt good in that moment, because I got to help my child, and that is a feeling that never gets old no matter how old you get. That was 4 months ago. Okay, now I need you to really pay attention because this is where everything starts to unravel. About 3 weeks ago, I started noticing that Marcus was different on the phone. Short with me. Always busy. Always had to go somewhere. I told myself he is just stressed with work, do not read too much into it. But something was sitting funny with me. You know how you just know something? You cannot explain it, but you feel it? I felt it. That quiet feeling in my stomach that something is not right. I have had that feeling a few times in my life, and it has never been wrong. Not once. Then my neighbor Gloria called me. Gloria has been my friend for over 20 years, and she is not somebody who calls you with nonsense. She called me and she said, "Audrey, my daughter was in Brooklyn yesterday, and she saw Vanessa getting out of a brand new car. A brand new silver SUV, beautiful, shiny, parked right outside their building. And Vanessa was apparently very excited about it, telling people around her that she finally got the car she always dreamed of. Finally got it." I just sat there holding my phone. I did not say anything for a moment. Then I thanked Gloria and I hung up and I sat in my kitchen and I thought. I thought very carefully. I told myself, "Audrey, do not assume. Maybe they got money from somewhere else. Maybe Vanessa saved up separately." So I called Marcus. He picked up and I kept my voice very calm and I said, "I heard you all got a new car. That is exciting." And there was this pause. Just a little too long. And he said, "Yeah, Mom, yeah, we did. Vanessa needed something reliable." I said, "That is great. How much was it?" He said around $26,000 with everything. $26,000. And then I asked him straight. I said, "Marcus, where did that money come from?" And he started talking fast, the way he used to do when he was a kid and he knew he was in trouble. He said, "Well, the money I borrowed from you really helped and Vanessa had been saving too, and they got a good financing deal." I said, "Son, I gave you that money because you told me you were struggling. I gave you my savings, money I was keeping for my health, for emergencies." He said, "Vanessa really needed this car." I said, "Marcus, your mother's medical fund is not a car payment." He said he had to go. He never called me back. 2 days later, I took the subway to Brooklyn. Bad knees and all, I went because I needed to look at my son. When I got there and that door opened, it was Vanessa standing there. Not Marcus. Vanessa. Cool, calm, put together, looking at me like she already knew exactly what she was going to say and what she was not going to say. Marcus was on the couch. I sat down. I said I want to talk about the money. Vanessa said the money was used to help stabilize their finances and that transportation was part of stability. Just like that. Smooth. Rehearsed. I said that money was for my health, not for a car. She said transportation was their emergency. I looked at Marcus, and he looked at the floor. Then I said, can I at least see the car? I just want to sit in it for 1 minute. That is all I am asking. And Vanessa looked at me and she said, Audrey, that is my car and I do not feel comfortable with just anyone sitting in it. Just anyone. She said just anyone. To me. To the woman who raised her husband. To the woman who handed over $8,000 of her retirement savings without blinking because her son asked her to. I am just anyone to her. After everything. Just anyone. Marcus said nothing. He sat right there, and he said not one single word. I looked at him for a long moment, hoping he would stand up and say something. Anything. He just kept looking at the floor like the floor was the most interesting thing in the room. That silence from my son hurt me more than anything Vanessa said. More than the car. More than the money. That silence broke something in me that I am still trying to put back together. I got up. I got my bag. I left. I cried on the subway for a little while because I am human and that hurt me deep. But then I stopped and I started thinking. And that thinking led me somewhere I was not expecting at all. I called my friend Patricia, who used to work at a bank. I told her everything. She asked me one question that stopped me cold. She said, Audrey, did Marcus ever show you any proof of this financial trouble? Any paperwork? Any bills? Anything? And I realized no. Nothing. I just believed him. He is my son. I just believed him. Patricia said, Audrey, call the landlord. So I did. I had Mr. Donnelly's number because I actually helped Marcus find that apartment. I called him and I said I just wanted to check in. I heard the rent went up quite a bit recently. And Mr. Donnelly said, Ms. Audrey, I have not raised their rent at all. It has been the same for 2 years and I have no plans to change it. They're good tenants and the rate is fixed. The rent never went up. Marcus made that up. He sat at my table and he looked me in my eyes and he made up a story to get $8,000 out of me so his wife could buy herself the car she always wanted. He lied to his mother. He planned it, he rehearsed it, he came to my home and he looked me in my face and he lied. And I believed him because he is my child and I never thought in a million years my own child would do that to me. I am still sitting here trying to breathe normally as I tell you this. And then, just when I thought I had reached the bottom of this, I found out one more thing. My friend Patricia mentioned that her husband had run into Marcus at a neighborhood gathering a couple months back and Marcus had casually mentioned that he had been doing some investment deals on the side with a business partner. A serious side business apparently. Making decent money from it, he said. So let me get this straight. My son, who told me he was broke and struggling and needed to borrow $8,000 from his 73-year-old retired mother, has a side business that is making him money. He is not broke. He was never broke. He came to my house, sat at my table, looked at his mother, and lied. Straight lied. To get money. My money. The money I saved by wearing extra sweaters in winter and doing my own hair and eating beans instead of meat. That money. I do not even have the right words for how that feels. I really do not. And I sit here and I think about every sweater I put on instead of turning the heat up. Every meal I simplified. Every sacrifice I made for that account. And it makes me so sad and so angry at the same time. But I will tell you what I am doing about it. I have written everything down. Every date, every conversation, every amount. I spoke to someone at a legal aid office, and she told me that because Marcus used the word borrow, this is legally a loan, and I have real options here. I am looking into every single one of those options right now, and I am not stopping until I figure out exactly what I am entitled to. And I mean that. I am not letting this go. And Marcus, if somehow you ever see this, I want you to know something. I am not angry in the way that breaks a person. I am the kind of angry that makes a person stronger. You know what kind of woman your mother is. You watched me survive things that would have knocked other people flat. This is not going to knock me flat either. But things between us, son, things are going to have to change. Because I deserve better than what you did. I deserve the truth. At minimum, I deserve the truth. And Vanessa, every time you get in that car, I hope you think about the 73-year-old woman who wore extra sweaters all winter so that money could sit in a bank account for her future. I hope you think about that every single time you turn that key. Now listen, tell me where you are from. Drop your city down in the comments below. And if you love your grandma, if you have ever had a woman in your life who sacrificed everything for you, please give this a like, subscribe so you never miss me, and share this with your friends. Because grandmothers like me, we are still here. We are still standing. And we still have plenty left to say. God bless you all. Bye-bye.